and also say, Apo. I had a new one today. All protocols observed. My name is Arikana Chihombori. I was born in the village of Sadza. I am a very proud African village girl with a very strong rural background. That I am very proud of. It is my upbringing in my village that gives me the values that I live by every single day. Even in my practice as a medical doctor in the United States among Americans, I found ways of sharing with them my values that I live by, the values that were instilled in me by my parents, my family members, my village, and my country. Growing up in the village, we were told ngano, stories that were supposed to teach us life lessons. It wasn't until I was an adult that I began to think of those stories from time to time. And every now and then, out of nowhere, one story will pop up in my head, and I'll start laughing. But then I would be reminded that that story had a meaning. That story had a life lesson. And somehow, when I was young, I looked at those stories as just ngano. Two favorite stories I'm going to share with you. And as we continue with the deliberations, I will let you decide where you fall in, where who falls in. But let me start now, Tsronagudo. The stories of Tsronagudo, the rabbit and the baboon. The baboon was forever being outwitted by Tsuro. It doesn't matter how many times the rabbit came at the baboon with a totally different story, and the baboon would always fall for it. I remember one particular one. Tsuro akati sekuru ngatitambe tsoro yekubikana. Sekuru vakati, no problem, sekuru ngatibikanei. So a big pot of water was put up, and just before the water got hot, Tsuro akati sekuru gainditange kupinda. So Tsuro gets in the pot, and just as the water was beginning to feel uncomfortable because it's getting hotter, it says, sekuru ndibuditsei, because pot iya yangari yekuti ukapinda, it's easy kupinda, asikubuda kwainetsa. So Sekuru Gudo pulled Tsuro out. So can Sekuru, it's your turn, pindai. So Sekuru Gudo goes into the pot, and the water starts getting hotter. Then Sekuru Gudo starts calling to say, Sekuru Tsuro ndibuditsei. Ndacha. So can Sekuru bikikai. Tsona kuchika mabonzo. Sekuru would cry. He became louder until finally the voice started phasing off. Katsuro kachingo tambasuka zuko Sekuru bikikai. Tichike mabonzo. Until Sekuru Gudo died. The next story I want to share with you is about the mice that found a deserted house and they decided to make it their home. The mice were living happily, taking care of their families, until the cat, a stray cat, moved in. One by one, the cats started to disappear. The mice didn't know what to do about this cat because they did not hear the cat coming. They would just disappear. So the leader of the group called for a meeting. He said, let's organize. Let's figure out what to do with this cat. We're disappearing. So there were so many suggestions until one wise mouse said, why don't we put a bell on the neck of this cat so we can hear him coming? And the whole room just erupted. We had found a solution. We're going to put a bell around the neck of this cat so we can hear him. No more getting caught unaware. But from the corner of the room, there was another mouse that said, it's all nice and good that we want to bell the cat so we can hear him coming. The question I have is, achamusungirira dare ndiani? 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 The question I have is, achamusung who is going to bail the cat. So at that point, instead of the mice trying to figure out what to do, the leader of the mice reminded them that if we try to bail this cat, some of us are going to die. Some of us are going to be hurt beyond repair. There will be challenges. So bailing the cat is not going to be easy. One by one, the mice started disappearing because no one was willing to sacrifice themselves for the better survival of the group. I want you to park that story for now. Going back to Nyayatsuro Nagudo, because many of you are going to find yourself faced with similar situations where President Trump flipped the script and went gangster on President Ramaphosa. He wanted to diffuse and neutralize the South African team before they went to discuss the issues of trade. It's a game. President Ramaphosa and his team, they were Makudo, let's face it. And President Trump was the wise rabbit. Life as we know it is a game. It's a game of chase. Each and every one of you, as you represent your organizations, as you represent your ministries, as you represent your village, as you represent your local government, your provincial government, your central government, are you equipped with the boxing gloves of knowledge? Because if this fist fight turns into a boxing match, are you ready with your boxing gloves of knowledge? If this meeting should escalate into a gunfight, are you equipped with your bazooka of knowledge? Lately, we are talking about banger busters. Are you equipped with the banger buster of knowledge to truly represent those who have chosen you to lead them? Do not get yourself caught up with your pants down like President Ramaphosa did with his team. President Trump is rewriting the rules when it comes to geopolitics. President Trump is rewriting the book on diplomacy. President Trump is rewriting the book on trade. When President Trump says, America first, I've done an analysis of USAID. I find no value to the Americans. Show me the money with regime change in Nicaragua. Show me the money with regime change in whatever country. There was no value for the Americans. So he said, I want to disrupt USAID. What are some of you saying? Oh my God, we can't do without USAID. Do you see the problem with that? Do you really understand what USAID was doing in your country? Your ability to unlock business potential through policy, partnerships, and productivity is severely impacted by the activities of agencies like USAID and many others like them. Are you aware of that? Or are you stupid enough to just be interested in the petty cash they are giving you after they have stolen that money from your Zimbabwe? After they have fouled with your politics, messed around with the media, tarnished your country so nobody wants to trade with Zimbabwe. Do you understand the depth of the damage that is affecting everything we are talking about today? Unlocking business potentials. How do you unlock business potentials when there's an undercurrent of destabilization with people who come to you with a smiling face? USAID had to go. On that one, you got to give it to Trump. USAID had to go. There are institutions that were created after the Second World War. Institutions like United Nations. Institutions like World Trade Organizations, IMF, World Bank. They were designed specifically for the purposes of helping with the recovery of Europe after Europe had devastated itself. And by the way, it is not a Second World War. Those were European tribal wars. Let's call them what they are. Europe had devastated itself. They needed to rebuild. The first funding came from the United States, $13 billion. That's all you hear. That the United States helped with the recovery of Europe, the Marshall Plan. How do you build a whole European continent with $13 billion? You can't. The reality is, the bulk of the reconstruction of Europe was through stealing from Africa. And which organization did they create to make sure that the exploitation of Africa was thorough and complete? It was the World Trade Organization. World Trade Organization is an organization that's given a blind eye to West African cocoa. There is not a single cocoa plantation in Switzerland, and yet everywhere you go, Swiss coffee, Swiss chocolate, Swiss this. Why isn't World Trade Organization calling Switzerland out for renaming African products? The best teas. Let's not talk about our minerals. 75% of the minerals traded at the London Stock Exchange are coming from Africa. Where is the World Trade Organization? So when President Trump says they're out of WTO, let's celebrate that. When President Trump says we are spending too much money as Americans funding the United Nations, they're out. Let's celebrate that. The institutions that were created after the Second World War, aka European wars, tribal wars, they need to be dismantled and new institutions need to be created. Institutions that are truly representative of the world. Do you understand that? Do you understand how pivotal our ability to deliver on unlocking business potential through policy, partnerships, and productivity, our ability to deliver on this on behalf of those who you represent are going to be and continuously have been undermined by these institutions? The average African country as we speak today, we're paying over 50% of our GDP on loan repayment to World Bank and IMF. They send in their rating agencies, who then give us poor ratings intentionally so they can justify giving us exorbitant interest rates. Do you understand how important that is? And that brings me to the second story about the cat and the mice. 1963, after Ian Smith declared himself the Prime Minister of Rhodesia, they call it UDI, Unilateral Declaration of Independence. This was our opportunity as Black people in Zimbabwe to lead ourselves just like the other nations that were getting their independence, so to speak, from the colonizers. But Ian Smith, he snatched it away from us. At that point, Ian Smith immediately became the cat that invaded our house. They were young men and women, some as young as 14 years of age, who saw there was something terribly going on that was wrong. They felt that something needed to be done. So like Makonzo, they called each other and said, what can we do? There is a cat that has entered our community. How can we bail the cat? The young men and women organized at a very tender age. They knew, if I go in this direction, I shall run into a country called Mozambique. They're sympathetic to my cause. If I go in this direction, I shall run into a country called Zambia, who are sympathetic to my cause. So it is, young Zimbabweans left the country, trained to become soldiers, and came back, fought viciously. Many gave up and defended Zimbabwe with their own lives. Many did not come back. But it is the bravery of those few that has given us the Zimbabwe that we have today. They gave us political liberation. But what we did not get in 1980 was economic liberation. Now the honors is on you young people now. You and us who are still alive today. We have a responsibility to deliver economic liberation. The mice, when they were invaded by the cat, they got scared of attacking the cat. They did not want to risk their lives. But our freedom fighters, they gave it all up. They knew some were going to die. They knew some were going to be disabled beyond any survival. But that did not deter them. They gave us the ultimate sacrifice of their lives for us to have this Zimbabwe that we have today. The question I have for you, young people, what sacrifices are you prepared to make? Economic liberation is now on your lap. The responsibility to deliver economic liberation is on your lap. If your children were to ask you 20 years from now, Grandma, Grandpa, 20 years ago there were problems in Zimbabwe. What did you do? What are you going to tell your children? We did nothing. We were waiting for the white people to come and bring us some money. We applied for a loan from World Bank. We were waiting for the NGO to give us some funding. Is that what you're going to tell them? 2014, we saw the creation of the Mutapa Sovereign Fund. Now Mutapa Fund. It's an amazing and great idea to put all the national assets under one roof, to be able to organize and trade in an organized way, to say our natural resources belong to the people of Zimbabwe and they must benefit the people of Zimbabwe. They must help the leadership provide a better life for the children of Zimbabwe. I don't know how many of you know that in Venezuela during Yugoslavia, I'm thinking is still going on, that as a Venezuelan, all you had to do was pay $100. And after that, you pull up at any gas station and fill up your tank. Because Chavez said the oil for Venezuela belongs to the people. Let's use it to make life better for the Venezuelans. Up north, Gaddafi did the same thing. He said the oil of Libya belongs to the people. The minerals, the gold of Libya belong to the people. So it is as quality health care was free. Quality education was free. A graduate out of college, you're guaranteed down payment on the house, down payment on your car. And when you start having a family, also a deposit on the welfare of that child. We have eliminated all the roadblocks that a young person is facing in order for them to go to work and give you 1,000% without worrying about when am I going, do I have enough money to pay my rent? Do I have enough money to even get a car? Young people nowadays can't even dream of a house. Mutapa Sovereign Fund is a fund that if it is properly managed, this could be a model of how Africa should be run. The richest continent on earth is considered the poorest because we are too busy giving up our own natural resources for peanuts. Zimbabwe has done something wonderful. But the question I have is, Mutapa Sovereign Fund has been around since 2014. 11 years later, it's not even listed at the London Stock Exchange, not even the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. 11 years later, not a single mine has been monetized. One mine alone monetized, without necessarily mining, could loosen up millions, if not billions of dollars. This country is well known for its wealth. When I have been speaking to my friends in this industry, and I always refer them, I say, Google this fund. And they all call me right back, this is a juggernaut. Mutapa Sovereign Fund is a juggernaut. It's an envy of many countries. But what have we done with it? Why haven't we started monetizing our mines? Why haven't we listed the Mutapa Sovereign Fund? What is holding us back? It always goes back to the mind. There are some basic things that we should be doing as Black people to make sure that our circumstances improve. Thanks to the legacy of colonization. Thanks to the Berlin Conference. Our minds are still very colonized. If you still think USID should have been in Zimbabwe, Urugudo. If you think our only survival or the only way we can do anything in Zimbabwe is because we need white people, Uri Gonzo. The Zimbabwe that we have today, we are endowed with an amazing country. A country that has everything and anything we could ever need. We have some of the most intelligent, most educated people in Zimbabwe. The question I have for you, young people, business leaders, are you assembling a team made up of Tsuros? When you go to negotiate, even starting from the village, are you going to put your best Tsuros forward? Even kumamisha anasakuruvaiziziya kana pane nyaya inoda kutongwa nemamwe villages between one village and another vaitsvaga tsuro dzemu village mavo vaitumira tsuro havaitumira makudo avo aivaziya kuti uyo igudo usamutumire tumirai tsuro. Are you preparing yourself either to be a tsuro kana or gudo, or are you going to make sure that you agree you are a Gudo, but you know they are Tsuros, so let's send the Tsuros. This country is full of Tsuros. We have no shortage of Tsuros. The only problem is the Tsuros must wake up. The Tsuros must know our history. The Tsuros must understand that you are inheritors of an amazing kingdom, and that as Black people, you are the mothers and fathers of humanity, and therefore you rule. The ground that you walk on, the rest of the races, they need to bow down when you walk. Because without you, they wouldn't be. And that's a fact. You must understand when you go to that negotiating table, that is a battlefield. Do you have the tools that you need to make sure that no matter what kind of a curveball they throw at you, you will stay with the program? Are you ready to be thrown again? They flip the script this way, you flip it that way, you're back on top. They flip it again, they want to turn you into your good. No. I know my country, I know my business. I'm going to give you the facts. You flip the script and you're back on top. That is the battlefield. Are you looking at the stage, the environment that has been created by Trump, of saying, forget regime change. Let's negotiate as equal partners. May the best man win. Are you going to put your best foot forward as you negotiate the best deal that you can, the best deal that can be for those who you represent? This is a battle that must be won. And you must go onto the battle determined to win. If President Trump can continue with moving away from regime change, this is best news for Africa. If President Trump continues to push to share equal partners as we negotiate, that is the best news for Africa, because we have not been allowed to do so by our former colonizers. You see, there's a medication called Ozempic. It's a medication for weight loss. Some of you might know it, some of you may not. The generic name is semaglutide. This medication was put out as medication for diabetes. But they found out that if you were diabetic and you were overweight, you started losing weight. They were like, oh, wow, that's a nice side effect. They also found out that if you took that medication and you had a weak heart, suddenly your heart was beginning to function better. Another positive, unintended side effect. They found out if you had kidney problems, same thing. Your kidney function got better. It is my humble opinion that I would like to say President Trump is our Ozempic. The policies that he's putting forward for America first, while not intended for Africa and other developing nations, there are definitely positive side effects for us. Do you guys understand that? Or are you going to jump on the bandwagon? How can he be doing this? Why do you want to fight other people's battles? When your enemies are fighting, let them fight. Cheer on. Cherry pick what's good for you. So when he does something that is good for us, and at Magenga, you start organizing. You start planning. How do we take advantage of this situation? Rather than sit back and say, this is Arikana. We must wake up. Gativei anatsiro Magenga. Let's not behave semakons. And not when faced with challenges, we run. Rather than re-strategizing and focusing on that which we must do. Economic liberation for Zimbabwe is an absolute must. And those of you sitting in this room right now, you are the ones responsible for the delivery of that economic liberation. You cannot ask those who gave us political liberation to continue to struggle to give us economic liberation. The onus is on you. It is your time to now make those ultimate sacrifices. You see, birds sing not because they can. They sing because they have a song. As Zimbabweans, we need to send a clear message to our leadership. Let them know. I've shared with you the stories, Speaker. Welcome. I'm sorry I started before you came. I shared with the audience the story about Tsuro Nagudo and how Tsuro was always outsmarting Gudo. I shared with them the story about the cat and the mice. How when the mice, Makonzo, were faced with the cat, instead of organizing on how to attack the cat, even though they knew very well some of them are going to die, the Makonzo chickened out. To this day, Makonzo are still running away from the cat. We are saying those who fought for the wars of liberation, they understood that Ian Smith and his regime were the cat that needed to be bailed. So yes, they gave up everything. They gave up their lives to deliver us political liberation. So that's what we were talking about. I'm just giving you a little summary so you understand the context of where we are going. So I'm glad you're here, Mr. Speaker. As children of Zimbabwe, as a Zimbabwean woman, as a mother, I'm going to say on behalf of the women and our children, we are asking the government to say, please, we have lots of wise Tsuros in government, but we also still have a significant number of Makudo ne Makonzo. Can you please help us get rid of them? The Vice President spoke very clearly. He said to remind Makudo ne Makonzo. He didn't put it exactly the way I'm putting it, but your time of reckoning is coming. Honorable Speaker, please speed up that process. Taneta ne Makudo ne Makonzo muhurumende. As I had started saying, that birds sing not because they can, they sing because they have a song. As a united front of Mother Africa's children, let's give the world the best melody the world has ever heard. The melody that says, "Pasi ne corruption." The melody that says, "Pasi ne kutengesa nyika." The melody that says, we want unity of purpose. The melody that says, Zimbabwe is for Zimbabweans. As we sing that melody to the world, let's waltz to the tallest mountain and proclaim to the world who we are. The proud, the beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, and highly adaptable children of the great Zimbabwe. Pamberine Zimbabwe. Pamberine Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make African great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.